Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and still covering President Sisi's current visit to India, New Delhi. And on this topic, we're glad to be joined over the phone by Mr. Rahman, a journalist and political analyst, to shed more light on the significance of this visit. Good afternoon, sir.
Well, good afternoon to you and hello to the dear viewers.
Well, Mr. Rahman, this is the first visit by an Egyptian president to be invited as the chief guest for the Republic Day parade in New Delhi. Well, sir, would you shed more light on the significance of President Sisi's current visit and his invitation to this very special event?
I believe this is a very important international effort accomplished as a success of the previous efforts by Mr. President Abdel Sisi and the leadership of Egypt towards building a better and stronger relations with the countries that we have long history of relations, a long history of ties, of solid ties, the solid ties with the East, the Eastern countries like India, is very critical and very important to achieve more progress, building more, pouring more cement in its pillars, building the new bridges for the future, making even better, stronger ties with them on all levels. We're talking diplomatically, politically, economically, even militarily. I believe this is a very significant step of the Egyptian diplomacy, and I believe India's leadership realizes the importance of the Egyptian leadership in the Middle East and even in Arabic East.
Right. Well, sir, Egypt and India has long historic ties, and these ties were strengthened and further strengthened after President Sisi took office. And now, how far did the president's previous visits, also in 2015 and 2016, give further strength to Egyptian-Indian bilateral relations?
Well, of course, you have mentioned a very important point here. With this history, the recent history, I call it recent history because I'm talking about thousands of years of relations. But in the 60s, in the 50s, we had witnessed a very important, significant, and special strategy that was built between the leaders of the real free world. By the leaders of Egypt and other countries like Joseph Broz Tito, the ex-president of Yugoslavia, and Jawaharlal Nehru, the leader of India, and of course the leader of Egypt and the hero of its revolution, the 52 revolution in Egypt, ex-president, ex-leader Gamal Abdel Nasser. We have taken the step, we have taken the strong and the brave step by establishing what's called then the movement of non-allied. Yes. The non-allied movement turned into an organization. Mm-hmm. And the first meeting was made in Bandung of Indonesia. Yes. And then another meetings and summits were held between the leaders of the movement that took that solid course of not being aligned to any whether the East or the West. This is the same course Egypt is taking right now, right afterwards the June 30 revolution. Mr. President Abdel Sisi established the new strategy, the same strategy that ex-leader Gamal Abdel Nasser has taken, which is our relations goes to where our best interests, not to be allied or not to be accounted to the East or to the West. We have witnessed very strong and practical steps towards this strategy, whether building the cooperation militarily and economically with countries like Russia, like China, like those Eastern powers, or on the other hand, building the same balanced relations with the U.S. and the West in Europe. And of course, we can never go alone in this path.
Yes.
We have to strengthen our powers. We have to strengthen our efforts by building this stronger movement, this stronger direction between us, Egypt, and other countries that seek to go on the same path. India is a very important ally in this strategy,
Yes.
and I believe India has taken very important steps in this strategy. That, especially in the Russian military operation in Ukraine,
Yes.
it has taken a balanced situation, just like Egypt.
Right. Well, Mr. Abdel, President Sisi addressed journalists at the Indian Presidential Palace, where he focused on future goals and future cooperation with India based on the previous historic ties. Now, what were the main points addressed through President Sisi's words?
I believe that economy is very important right now. There's no relations in this world nowadays built without economy. So we have too many common interests together between Cairo and New Delhi. That's how Mr. President Abdel Sisi is carrying the files of economy to reach its counter files in the Indian part. I believe that we have already established stronger ties with India since about 7 years, and now we're making it even stronger by inviting the Indian investments to Egypt, to the Egyptian markets, and to have the partnership between the mega project patriotic and national projects in Egypt with our associates in India. This is a very important step.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, Egypt and India inked a number of agreements. Would you shed more light on these cooperative agreements, sir?
Of course. Later, even 2 weeks before, we have witnessed that Egypt has taken a very strong step, economically, of course, to face and to fight back against the influence of the dollar currency. It has established a strong economical ties and financial ties with the Russian central bank and the Indian central bank and the Chinese central bank. To have our currency, the Egyptian pound, as one of the series of currencies they deal with in the countries. And this is a very important step to strengthen our situation in our BRICS agreements.
Yes.
That join between the countries that do not take sides anymore in this world, but only its best interests. And our best interest as Egypt is our main important thing to look at now.
Right. Sir, President Sisi's visit will witness discussions on several topics of mutual concern. Now, what are the most important expected topics that will be discussed or expected to be discussed during President Sisi's visit?
Well, we already have more than 50 Indian companies in Egypt with investments that goes even higher than almost $3.5 billion. Of course, we are opening the gates for the Indian investor in our projects of the new with the new measures of economical and industrial projects like the green hydrogen, with even more than $8 billion. And of course, there is a common trade, more than $7 billion. We are willing to increase those levels to even higher and even stronger and even closer We have Egypt and India were partners in the Silk Road since thousands of years. So we can rebuild this road again with our relations, Egypt and India and China.
Right. Well, sir, Egypt and India were co-founders of the non-aligned movement rather in the 1950s, and they share its commitment to lofty principles that the world now desperately needs more than ever in these times. What's your take on that?
I believe that history repeats itself. This is a very important, significant way to look at the way the strategies and the events are going around us in the world. With the new wars we are witnessing right now, I'm talking about the Russian military war in Ukraine that has turned into a conflict between the East and the West. And of course, some powers think that they have only one choice for other countries. It's either with them or against them. Well, no, we don't accept that way of looking at things or that strategy. We aim to seek our own independence and our independent decision without going east or west. We are building our relations with countries and even with only the matter and the level of common interests. Wherever our common interests take us, we go, either west or east. This is the same way Mr. President Abdel is carrying in his bag when he is meeting with the leaders of India.
Yes. Well, sir, bilateral trade has been on an upswing in the last few years as it achieved a record high of $7.26 billion in 2021-2022. How do you think we can further develop our trade ties between Egypt and India?
Well, our markets are opened and investment procedures are being easier each and every month and each and every year to open the gates for investments in the Suez Canal economical bases there. We have too many projects to take their direction to attract the attention of the Indian investments, and of course the mega Indian companies, especially the high technology of India, which is leading and pioneering in its career in its at the whole world. Seeking the high tech, the Indian high tech can give us a greater push to our high tech industries in Egypt.
Mm-hmm. Sir, what's the value of Indian investments in Egypt, and what's the role of the private sector to strengthen economic ties between the two countries?
It's a friendly, what we can call it a friendly and guaranteed investments. Of course, nothing is 100% guaranteed, but it's a high-level guaranteed investment in Egypt. And of course, with the leading of the country and the leadership, the economical leadership of Egypt, of course, with cooperation with the public, the private sector, that can take part and use the opportunity in building through mega projects accomplished by the private sector. Not only to have the attention on the small or the fast profitable projects. We need from the private sector to work and to take the same course of the state in Egypt by building long-term profit economies, projects that can get profitable reaction to its own companies, and of course to the whole nation, not only for small projects or some companies all by itself. We need to cooperate between the general economy and the private economy in Egypt. This is a very important, walking towards building the new republic that can never be built by one of the sides alone.
Yes. Well, sir, Egypt and India share civilizational relations that have stood the test of time and are a testament of Afro-Asian unity. Now, how do you read this statement, and how can we further enhance those relations?
Well, it's always been a warm feeling to have communications with the Indians. We had several strong and intellectual ties with India. India has taken too much from the ancient civilization. It has used our own letter words, and of course, it has our own language, the ancient Egyptian language. And of course, too many of our civilization points and pillars were was used in building the ancient India. At this, we are right now. We are trying to build together on the same levels our own common ancient civilization, our own common the Eastern culture. This is a very important. The Eastern cultures have so many in common. So many, even at the level of societies, at the level of our morals, our ethics. We have
Yes.
too many in common in these files, and in these roots between two civilizations still are in the head and the leadership, each and in every continent, India and Asia and Egypt in Africa. We can use this leadership to go towards each other, make it even closer and even stronger cooperation on all levels.
Right. Well, sir, during the press conference, also President Sisi mentioned the importance of boosting joint efforts to face terrorism and extremism, as well as the current challenges. How important is the cooperation between Egypt and India in this field of facing and countering terrorism and extremism?
Well, both India and Egypt have suffered from terrorism, and we share, along with the Indians, the same aspect on looking at this issue. Mm-hmm. We have unexpected maneuvers, military maneuvers between the Egyptian Navy and the Indian Navy. This will soon be held. And of course, we have the same strategies dealing with this issue of terrorism by taking its roots from our soils, fighting back their black hands in our countries and in our religion and our lives. We need to go side by side and share common views and even share efforts to walk side by side, especially that very close to India, there is the terroristic regime in Afghanistan, which led by Taliban. So the threat of Taliban is threatening, is directed all the way to India. And of course, we have suffered too much before, but we have faced this threat and eliminated from Sinai, thank God, after the June 30 revolution.
Right. Sir, also President Sisi mentioned that during his meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, they reviewed the outcomes of COP27, where the President expressed appreciation for inviting Egypt to participate in G20 meeting for 2023 under the presidency of India. How do you see this, sir?
Well, this is a very important sign of how stronger tie we have with India. And the leadership and the stronger tie between the leaderships of the two countries. And of course, if we didn't have a strong economy, if we didn't have a wide steps we have accomplished in building our own economy, we would have never been invited to such a great event like the G20. And of course, going side by side, cooperating with countries, friendly countries that share us the same point of views toward the international issues, this could be very successful and very helpful in our situations.
Right. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Mr. Amr Abdurrahman, a journalist and political analyst. Many thanks for your insight, sir. And dear viewers, now we go to a short break and we'll be right back.